Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. This is a legally constituted meeting of the Town of Charlotte Planning Board. Legal notice of this meeting has been posted in the Gates Charlie News and on the bulletin board in front vestibule of the Town Hall. If you could please silence any phones or pages that you may have and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the event of an emergency, please use the exits in the front and rear of the room. We will proceed with the agenda in the order in which it was published, unless otherwise stated. When called, please proceed to the podium, state your name, and if you are representing an applicant, indicate the applicant's name. Review the details of the application. Planning board members and side table participants will address questions and concerns to the applicant or the representative. For the public hearing portion of the meeting, upon completion of the comments of the board and the side table, anyone wishing to comment on the application will be heard. If you wish to speak, please wait to be recognized by the chairperson. Stand, state your name and address for the record. Please speak so all can hear your comments and address all comments and questions to the chairperson. Now introduce the board members and the side table participants. To my far left is Matt Emmons. I am Mike Nyan, Glenn Hyde, David Cross, Paul Blozier, Joe Defendis, and Al Hellaby have been excused. Our planning board counsel is Matthew Piston. Our building department manager is Paul Wanzenried, and our town engineer is Mike Hanscom. Our recording secretary tonight is Sandra Hewlett. Our first application is the application of Francesco Iantorno, 61 White Oak Bend, Rochester, New York, 14624. Iantorno and Cook Enterprises, LLC, 2117 Buffalo Road, PMB 320, Rochester, New York, 14624. Owner for approval of a special use permit for a duplex dwelling in a single family allowed at the property located at 1181 West Side Drive in the R112 district.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Your name, sir?
My
My name is Francesco Iantorno, and this is Jonathan Cook. We are owners of Iantorno and Cook Enterprises. We purchased what we thought was a duplex back in 2022, the property in question, 1181 West Side Drive. The county tax record indicated that it was a duplex. So we did renovations, cosmetic stuff, paints, appliances. It was a hoarder house at the time. It was like a lot of trash inside. So we cleaned that up, and then it was brought to our attention in the beginning of the year that the town had no record of the duplex change that was made in the 90s. So we submitted the application, yeah.
So all of the renovations were already done. Was it a two-family when you bought it? Was it set up to be two families?
Yes, yeah. So we bought the place with the understanding that it was a two-family. The tax record said it. We've been paying taxes as a two-family since June of 2022 when we bought it. And then it was brought to our attention earlier this year that it was the town did not have the records that it was changed into a duplex in the early 90s. So that was the...
Have you changed the floor plan at all from what it was?
No.
Okay. So you just cleaned it up, basically?
Yeah, cosmetics, appliances, things like that.
Questions? Have you read the engineer's report
Yes.
relative to parking and storage space?
Yes. Yep.
Will you be able to meet the requirements that he has outlined?
Yep.
And you're working with the building department to do that?
Yep.
No questions? No questions, but just a few comments. I may commend you for cleaning up a dilapidated property. I think it's a pretty tough situation. It's a tough situation you're in. I feel pretty strongly against issuing special use permits in single-family home districts. It's not consistent with our town's master plan, our comprehensive plan, and I'll leave it at that.
Anything from the side table?
No additional comments.
Okay. This time I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody wish to comment on this application? Yes, ma'am?
Is it currently?
Could you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Kathleen Netter. I live on 82 Andrews Road. I'm just wondering if it's currently being occupied as a two-family, or is it occupied at all?
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was occupied as a two-family and it was vacated. Is that correct?
That's correct, yep. And then there's one person living there right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of the,
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. Any additional conversation?
It's just a thought that, we've issued special use permits for in-law apartments, when there's a related person
Right.
in the apartment next to it, but we're basically turning a single-family use into a multifamily, and I got a problem with that.
Is there any indication how this would have happened, Paul, that they would have been listed as a two-family with the county and in our tax department, but not in the building department? No. Okay. There's no application ever made that just wasn't recorded? Okay. All right. Any other comments? Questions? Discussion? As far as seeker goes, I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency. And based on evidence and information presented at the meeting, the application is to be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. Would there be any conditions relative to this application? One other item, would we want to put a time limit on the special use permit to see how that it goes?
Yeah, or would the applicant consider a condition that it be considered an in-law apartment and that a related person lives in one side to the other? Or you want to rent it out as two individual apartments?
Ideally, yes, because I'm not sure if the person living there currently would have someone that could live there. So ideally, yes, but it'd be considered a two-family. We could have a separate family living there.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we used to put time limits on it, if I remember correctly, was, or assign time limits to it, was because there was a concern, and we wanted to make sure that it was going well, and we wanted to revisit it, right? So I mean, I
Correct.
think this is an example of a time where that would make sense.
I do too. The work's already been done, so it's not like we're given a time limit and then they're going to do a bunch of work and then we may not renew it. It's already all been completed. There's one party already in there. How long of a time limit were you thinking?
We should go 5 years.
5 years?
How long's his lease?
18 months from March.
I thought more 2 years, 3 years, just to see how it's going, and then if it goes well, then we could extend it the next time they come back and do 3 years instead of 5 that we normally would. So for conditions on this, the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works must be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies. Applicant to comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal. Building permits shall not be issued prior to the applicant complying with all the conditions. The application is subject to all required permits, inspections, and code compliance regulations. Additionally, the special use permit is granted for a period of 3 years from the date of issue. Which would mean just in 3 years, you'd have to come back to renew this.
Okay.
With those conditions applied, the application of Francisco Antorno, 61 White Oak Bend, Rochester, New York, 14624, I.R. Torno and Cook Enterprises LLC, 2117 Buffalo Road, PNB 320, Rochester, New York 14624, owner, for approval of a special use permit for a duplex dwelling in a single family allowed at property located at 1181 West Side Drive in the R112 district. Second?
Second?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Did you say no, Paul?
No.
So that's 2 no, and I vote yes. 3 yes. So therefore, that would be defeated. So this isn't approved.
Not approved?
Not approved, correct?
How many do we need for approval? 4?
Correct.
Could I ask I guess the alternative here is we have to have it as a single family, or what is the, because when we purchased it, it was with the understanding that it was a duplex, right? Put quite a bit of money into cleaning it up, and to my understanding, there was a lot of violations already with the previous owner. So I just asked that, maybe reconsider in the fact that, both of us here, he flew from Oregon, is my business partner, Jonathan, to reconsider that vote for the special use permit because of the, just the understanding we had going into it was a two-family. And we both invested quite a bit of capital into purchasing the property, renovating it, and making it, quite a nice place to live. And also, down the street, there's a couple duplexes on the same road.
So I appreciate that, I understand that, but the board has voted, and that vote is now closed, so we're not going to re-vote it,
Okay.
rehear it, if you will. There may be a provision, and you could help me out, Matt, with that, but the fact that we do not have a full board tonight, would he have the ability to come back when we do have a full board if he requests that?
And the board would have to have a vote as to whether or not there's a significant change of circumstances, or if the new application is significantly different than the one that was just voted
When
on.
we have a full board?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have a full board tonight. There are 2 people that have been excused from the meeting, so normally there would be 2 additional people here.
Yep.
So you do have the opportunity, if you want to reapply when we have a full board, and we could reconsider it at that time if we felt it's something that we should reconsider with a full board.
Hang on.
Yeah, hold on. The provision that I just referenced, as it relates to the zoning board, my brain had a misfired synapse. The town code is silent as to the planning board and reapplication. So when it's silent, it would be up to the board itself to make the determination. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a significant change in the application itself.
you would be able to apply at a time when we have a full board if you wish to do that. So for next month, for instance.
Okay. That's the,
Then you could contact the building department to be placed on next month's agenda again, to come back in there to represent your case in front of a full board.
okay. Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Can I say a couple of things?
Your name?
My name is Jonathan Cook.
Okay.
Yeah, so like one thing, because I think Oregon's a little bit different, but regarding use of properties and things of this matter. But one thing is the cost has gotten so expensive, especially on the West Coast. I think over here hasn't maybe caught up yet. But one thing they implemented across entirety of Oregon was like middle housing and like accessory dwelling units and things of this matter, where even a single family property, you can put up to 3 units on that property. And kind of why they implemented that was because it's so expensive for people to live. I think that, it just brings another house to the community, another place for somebody to live. So I don't know if that's making sense, but I think it's a positive thing for the community to have more housing opposed to less housing. And that's something that's, like I said, it's in Oregon, it's because it's so expensive there. Yeah.
I appreciate your comments, but probably the next meeting or another meeting you come to may be
Okay.
a meeting to discuss it, because you have 2 board members that aren't here, that aren't going to be able to hear that. So,
Okay. Okay.
consider this application completed for tonight, and if you wish to reapply, you could do that.
Okay.
one more question. With the, David, would you be open to the additional dwelling unit if it is a family member? The in-law apartment that you
Yes,
mentioned?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. We've done that in the past. Yeah.
It would
Okay.
be restricted to a family member. It couldn't be a family member to start and then somebody else brought in.
Just family members. So like when his lease is up, if the new person that was going to live there had a family member, that'd be okay?
A related person is what we usually put in there, right, Mike?
Correct.
Matt?
And that would have to
Really?
be, if it wasn't a family member, then they wouldn't be able to move in.
It'd be-
The
yeah,
other person
against
has to
the-
move
yeah.
out. It's specifically.
It's more considered an in-law apartment at that point, not a multifamily duplex, which
Right.
I don't think is consistent with this zoning in the neighborhood at all, so.
Would the board be willing to vote on that, or how does that work for voting for that? Or is that, the
No,
question
not
you asked me
tonight.
before was the.
If you want to
For the next
reapply,
meeting?
you'd have to do a new application.
Okay, so for
So the application for tonight is done.
done, yeah.
If you'd like to reapply, you can do that.
Okay,
But just be aware that if you decide to make this an in-law apartment, it would need to be an in-law apartment.
right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Not just say that it's an in-law apartment, it'll
Of course,
need to be an in-law. Okay.
okay. So for the next meeting, we could apply for the in-law permit, and that's something that you'd be open to, David?
Personally, I would, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
The next application is the application of James L. Rogers, 51 Sycamore Street, Rochester, New York, 14620. Neil Silverall, 35 Lantern Lane, Rochester, New York, 14623. Owner for approval of a special use permit. Uses of a similar characteristic at the property located at 1615 Scottsville Road in the GI District.
Good afternoon. I'm James L. Rogers, and the name of the business is Munchies. And we put the application in for the special use permit, and we're going to do catering and pickup and delivery, no takeout. So it's more catering mostly. And we also we have a couple food trucks, and we didn't want to park them there until we knew. And we were like, we don't operate the food trucks there, but we just park them next to our location because that's our commissary. So,
And this This used to be a restaurant, right?
Yes, it was formerly Hoagie's.
So you're going to take over that entire structure? There won't be any in-house dining or sit-down dining? It'll just be deliveries and catering?
Yes.
So nobody will be sitting in the building eating?
No one sits in the building. They have a Hoagie's actually had a pickup side door
Right.
that they would pick the food up.
Okay. Any other changes to the building or the footprint?
No.
Okay. Any questions?
So just to be clear, I see it a couple different times in here. This was confusing, I think, when it first came through before, is it's just the small front building, correct?
Yes.
That's why the letter from Silver Roll says it's not the back building. Okay.
I think it specifically says he's not associated with the person in the back building? Okay.
I don't have anything else at this time.
No questions?
Nothing.
Paul? No. Any additional comments from the side table? No. This time I'll open up the public hearing. Any comments regarding this application? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Metter again, Ashridge Road. Is there any intent to park oversized food trucks on the property? And will those be in operation on the property, or will they just be stored there?
You did indicate they would just be stored there, they would not be operating there. Any other questions? Any other comments from the, yes, ma'am?
Could you just speak up some, like, we hear David well, but we can't hear Matt very well. If you could just speak better into the microphone, it's difficult to hear.
Okay.
That's the first time anyone's ever said that to me. Is that better or no? No. Test 1, 2. Okay. I feel like I can't get much of this.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of this application.
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. And I don't think there were any comments, right, that parking was all right. AF, you don't need to see that, okay. Any further discussion? Any conditions?
I just think make sure that we've already talked about the trucks being parked there and not operational there, right? So I mean, I think we've got that covered. I think we've got that covered with trucks just parked there, not selling from there.
So the food trucks can be parked at the location but cannot operate or sell on the premise, right?
Correct.
Okay. Any other conditions? Okay, so then for conditions, I have the town engineer and the commissioner of public works must be given copies of any correspondence with approving agencies. Building permits should not be issued prior to the applicant complying with all conditions. Applicant is subject to all required permits, inspections, code compliance regulations, and no outside storage is allowed. Food trucks can be parked at the location but cannot operate or sell on premise. With those conditions, the application of James L. Rogers, 51 Sycamore, Rochester, New York, 14620, Neil Silverroll, 35 Lantern Lane, Rochester, New York, 14623, owner, for approval of a special use permit, uses of a similar characteristic of the property located 1615 Scottsville Road in the GI District.
Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. I also vote yes, this is approved.
Okay,
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You do the same. Application of Rich Lipke, Turf Masters LLC, 18 Charter Circle, Rochester, New York, 14606. Philomena Lipke, 18 Charter Circle, Rochester, New York, 14606. Owner for a subdivision approval of one lot into 3 lots to include a telecommunications parcel at property located at 69 Golden Road, the R120 LI District.
Good evening, Matt Tomlinson with Marathon Engineering. I also have the Lipkes with me here who are the applicants. As the chairman mentioned, we are looking to perform a 3-lot subdivision. Currently, this parcel is comprised of approximately 73 acres, and it's a little bit of a unique parcel in that it's separated both by Golden Road on the east and west sides of it, and then there's a small portion, a little over 2.5 acres, in the northwest corner that's actually on the opposite side of 490. So this is a parcel that's had some right-of-ways kind of carved through it over time, and the Lipkes purchased this property several months ago, and we've looked at some feasibilities for potential development, but ultimately have decided that they are looking to keep the Lot 1, which is the eastern side of the road, and ultimately build their family home there, potentially subdivide a couple of other small lots for family members potentially in the future on the 16 acres there, and sell off the remainder of the lot to someone who may be interested in developing it or doing a similar small development on the remainder for the west portion of the road. In another somewhat non-standard condition, there's an existing cell tower on the northern side of the west parcel, being Lot 2 on the subdivision map in front of you. That parcel, or that cell tower, is on a lease parcel, but never had a subdivided tax account parcel created as part of it.
Would you mind pointing that out? On the
Yeah,
map?
absolutely.
Yeah, having a hard time following.
So Lot 1 is the east side.
If you could, excuse me, just take that map to the side so we could see it as well as the audience. Thank you.
At least half the crowd can see. So Lot 1 would be the east side, Golden Road bisects the parcel. Lot 2 would be the larger portion of land, including that corner that's orphaned on the other side of 490. And then Lot 3 that we are proposing comprises the totality of the lease parcel for the existing cell tower along the north boundary of that lot. So we're trying to create this telecommunication parcel in a manner that's as small as it can be while meeting code. And the code requires certain setbacks related to the height of the tower. So we are providing that on the southern, eastern, and western side. We're meeting the minimum width required for a flag lot in order to create that. But where the tower is situated, and has been for the last 20 or so years since it was built, is only a few feet, I think it's about 25 feet, apologize, I don't have that full dimension on there, from 53 feet, from the north property line, and that's land that we do not own or control. So as part of what we are requesting for successful with approval tonight would be a conditional approval, condition on obtaining a variance for an existing non-conforming situation to that north property line. We are on an agenda for the zoning board on an upcoming meeting, I think in a couple of weeks. So that's the proposed disposition of the property, and look forward to any comments or questions the board may have. I believe that the response letter that we had to the town engineer's comments came back to the board, but if there's any questions specific to any answers there, we did not see any issue with complying or agreeing to any of those.
So Matt, can you walk me through, just so I'm making sure I understand this correctly, what's depicted in the lower left hand of the drawing? Is that what's existing on the lease for the cell tower?
That's exactly correct.
Okay, so that's showing smaller.
So the lease parcel is too small to be a code compliant lot. If we created exactly what followed the lease parcel, we would have needed a number of variances.
Right.
And that area of the piece of land is low enough that it would struggle to be served by sanitary sewers. So adding some extra real estate to that lot doesn't constrain future development of the parcel.
Okay, and then I just want to make sure I understand it correctly based on what's written and what you just said. The only variance you'd need is the one you've applied for, which is that 53 feet?
North property line, that's correct.
Okay, and then just out of curiosity, what happens with this orphan piece of land across 490?
My understanding is it remains part of that parcel of land which the owner proposes to sell. It's, I believe, a non-compliant lot, so there's no legal access to it because 490 is a restricted access road. And so I don't have a good answer for that, other than it's going to remain the way that it is today for the time being.
Okay, that's all I've got right now.
In the, you say the cell tower is on a leased piece of land. Who owns the land now?
Our client purchased the land without purchasing the rights to the lease, so he owns the land and has legal right to subdivide it.
Okay. But not the leased piece of,
Correct. That is held by a different party.
okay. Any questions?
No question?
I'm starting to become clear. So cell tower's existing.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And so not that we're the zoning board, but what kind of, so you're looking for a variance for that north lot line. What's required, 70, 75 feet?
The tower is 130 feet with some appurtenances on it. I think the town engineer had some data that it's 136 feet. And the setback that's required is 25 feet greater than the maximum height. So you'll notice the dimensions of 161 and 163 feet on our subdivision to the lot lines that we can control. I don't know if the regulations were different back when this was constructed or the whole history of when it was built.
Right. Okay. I don't have anything further.
Any additional from the side table? There's no history on this, Paul, relative to the cell tower being built, or is there?
There's history to it being built. Built back, I don't know when now.
Were the setbacks required back then, or is this new?
No, I think that the town code was written after, town code and communications law was written after this was installed.
Okay, thank you.
There's no variance on record.
Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments? Yes, sir.
Fred Trot, 101 Golden Road, and just to confirm what he said, back when they put the cell tower in, there was no requirements at that time, it was added after. I just had a couple questions. You were talking about on the southwest side of the road, and you would be open for development in that area?
You're going to develop the southwest part of the road? Is that?
The western parcel will be listed for sale, and so no prediction on who may or may not purchase or what they want to do with it. We explored feasibility of potentially creating a residential subdivision in keeping with the R120 zoning. I think it's R120, might be R112, sorry. I don't have it right in front of me. With the existing zoning, but ultimately the current owner is not interested in becoming a developer of that, so is going to list it for sale. There's no approvals obviously in place. Anyone that would like to develop it in the future would have to come back before this board in order to do so.
So the piece they want to develop is on the eastern part of Golden Road.
Yeah, to build
Which is why
their
you want to
personal
subdivide
house
it
at
off
some
from the
point.
rest of the land.
That's correct.
And that is 17 plus acres?
Yeah, yep.
Thank you.
So what is he going to do with the garage? Is he going to later on to subdivide that?
You're talking about the west
On the west side, there is a
garage right along the road?
garage.
Okay.
So that garage would be intended to remain or possibly demolished as part of the listing for sale. It's not intended to be used or subdivided into a smaller lot that would be part of that western parcel of land listed for sale.
Okay.
So no plans to use it from the current
There's no
owner.
plans for the land at all on the west side of the road?
Correct.
One last question. It's
Sure.
just a typographical. We have down that there's a house, existing house, under application, and there's no existing house on the property.
Yeah, that's correct. That was a typo on our part.
Okay.
The garage is the only existing structure other than the cell tower on the parcels.
Okay. Thank you.
So when you,
Okay. Anything else?
no, I have not.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion.
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. Are there any structures on the property to the north within 161 feet of that tower?
No, there are not.
There's our house.
No, but the one shed is within the area.
Yeah, sorry, no dwellings.
Okay.
We have not located any accessory structures on that parcel, so there could be within.
Just the one shed? Okay. Any other discussion or comments? How about conditions?
Variance, right?
So we'll need the variance, copies of anything. I didn't see anything in the comments from the town engineer that were health, life safety. Any conditions other than the standard ones, though? No? Okay.
Bless you.
Does that go in the minutes?
That's right. Okay, so then I have the following conditions. I have the town engineer and the commissioner of public works must be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies. I'm sorry, are there any easements? It's a flag lot, you said, right? So there's no easements?
No
you're applying
proposed
for?
easements needed, no.
Applicant to comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal. Pending approval of the zoning board of appeals of all required variances. Applicant to comply with all conditions of the zoning board of appeals as applicable. And that is it. So with those conditions, the application of Rich Lipke, Turf Masters LLC, 18 Charter Circle, Rochester, New York. Seeker first. Oh, sorry, I didn't do seeker. Yes, thank you. I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, and based on evidence and information presented at the meeting, determine the application to be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes for seeker. So now with those conditions, the application of Richard Lipke, Turf Masters LLC, 18 Charter Circle, Rochester, New York, 14606, and Philomania Lipke, 18 Charter Circle, Rochester, New York, 14606, owner, for subdivision approval of one lot into 3 lots to include the telecommunications parcel, property located at 69 Golden Road in the R120 LI District.
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. The subdivision is approved.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Application of Gizzy Real Estate Holdings LLC, 3850 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, 14624. Applicant owner for preliminary site plan approval to convert the existing building into convert the existing office building into 12-unit apartment building. B, 1,160 square foot addition to the existing building known as Berkeley Place Phase 1, property located at 4415 Buffalo Road in the GB District.
Good evening. My name's Chris Schultz. I'm here representing Gizzy Real Estate Holdings on the application. I think last time we were before the board with this project was 6-7 months ago. This was the first phase in the plan to redevelop the site. If you recall, this building was originally part of the parcel to the east, and it was a commercial property. We created a subdivision line, which is the east line of the parcel, as part of the rezoning of the parcel to multifamily. Second and third phase will consist of a one-story commercial building on the parcel to the east, and the westerly phase we were contemplating putting in townhouses. Currently, the demolition is just about done on the existing building. I believe the plans for the permit to actually do the construction of the apartments is, if not, it's already in, it will be in shortly. So we're at the time where we'd like to get the site plan approval for the renovation. The addition proposed on the south side is in keeping with the town's requirement for storage space for each of the units. We do have adequate parking. From a standpoint of what's going on in the exterior, very, very little. None of the existing landscaping or grounds will be affected. If you do recall, part of the overall plan, especially with the development of the westerly portion, there was an integrated landscaping plan, which would be part of this too. We would include any changes. One of the things we're looking at for the westerly parcel is access. Earlier plans had access both from the south and the north of the building, feeding it, and that may change. There's a number of different options they're contemplating. So at the present time, we would like to keep the existing landscaping on the site. Other than that, the building is already serviced by all utilities, so there won't be any utility work. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's in keeping with what we had planned for the project pretty much from the get-go. The town did grant us subdivision approval to merge this parcel with the west parcel. That map has not yet been recorded yet, but when it is, we'll take care of the issue with the lot width being a foot short and our side setback on the west side being under 40 feet. So we're at a position right now where getting that building back on into a positive cash flow was paramount. So they were, with the permission of the town, they went in and did all the interior demolition, got it all ready to go, and now they want to start doing the work to bring that up. And then in the near future, we'll be back with the next two phases.
Yeah.
So Chris, walk me through, you just addressed the first couple, I think number 2 on the letter from Lou Engineers.
Could you speak up, please, all of you? Including you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chris, can you walk me through the engineer's letter here? There's
Sure.
a few things. So you just said you can address 2A and 2B, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And-
And again, we will be going to the zoning board for those variances. We'll explain where we are with the subdivision that will be filed. Certainly the variances are minor in nature, so I don't believe we'll have any concerns with the zoning board later this month.
So I'm confused. You're taking care of them by getting a variance?
We will, right now, we are not merging the properties because we want to be able to get the permit for the renovation of the building itself. And then following that, we'll merge the properties and you'll have an application which will include the townhouses. But what we need is we want to make sure we have the ability to complete the renovation as a standalone lot. It worked out, it's kind of recommended that this is the direction we go. So that's why we came in tonight.
Okay, so this is all new to me, I guess, like, I'm just reading this, so.
Sure.
So you want us to approve that with those notes, knowing that you're going to take care of it later on after we've approved it?
I'm asking you to approve it tonight, contingent upon getting the variances later this month. And
Okay,
then part of
contingent on approval of the
yeah,
variances.
absolutely. And then
Got
part
it.
of that application, when I'm in front of the zoning board, I'll explain to them that, we didn't paint ourselves into a corner and have to go before the board, but because of the way this worked out, to get that building, renovated, we chose to go in this direction.
Got it, okay.
That's all. It was
Nope,
just
I
kind
get
of
it
a-
now. I just wanted,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
said the contingent on, yes.
Right,
that-
right.
Then I'm,
Yeah, it was a unique parcel. I mean, even keeping the easterly parcel, you know, commercial required a 100-foot frontage. The original parcel was 249 feet wide, so we currently have 149. You need 150 in multifamily, hence the need for an area variance.
okay, and then number one is the cross-access easement to the neighboring property?
Yep, so basically, both properties are currently owned by the same entity. We will show a reciprocal cross-access and parking so that anybody pulling in does not have to worry about where they park in that parking lot. And that would be part of what would be, you know, submitted to the town, the filing of that reciprocal cross-access easement.
Okay, I'm good for now.
And Chris, you're going to address the other items on here, the engineer's report. You're going to have a landscape plan, 1% of the total project.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I did talk to Mike earlier today, and, you know, basically for the landscaping plan, we can come up with something. We did depict what's on the site right now. What we don't want to do is just look at this as a standalone, because the landscaping on this parcel needs to tie into what we're going to do on the westerly portion. But I'd be happy to provide any landscaping to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town staff.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing.
Chris, will the apartments meet the minimum size requirements for RM zoning?
Yes, sir.
And can you just point out the 1,160 square foot addition? Is that that's off the south side of the building?
Down on the south.
Just that little piece there? Yeah.
Two-story, basically gives the access is the center access as before, and you basically on each floor have, you know, storage closets that meet the code.
Okay.
It was the easiest way to come up with something that looked decent. It didn't impact anything whatsoever from the overall development of the site.
Good.
Have you been to architectural for review of this for the addition?
We did submit plans. We have not been through an architectural review of the building. Very little is going to change from the standpoint of what the building is right now, other than the addition on the south end.
So Paul, it's been a while since we've had an AAC meeting, because we just haven't had any business, but it's because of this zoning that this would get triggered to come to AAC, or no?
Actually, it's not
required.
Not a requirement. You can ask that go to AAC. You can ask, put that as a board condition that they go to AAC and affirm the conditions of the AAC, or the recommendations, rather.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember, I don't recall if we looked at it the first time around, but I know it was a topic of conversation because it was a large development and there was a lot of
I
architecture.
don't
So
think the application got that far.
Yeah, we showed what the townhouses were going to look like. We showed this in that it was keeping. We showed the elevations of the one-story professional office, you know, and basically that's the most we were requested to produce. You know, certainly an architectural review would be pretty straightforward. They can go out and look at the building. You know, it's right there.
it's, yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
Anything else?
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable with the architect's plan. I mean, you got a stone water table and some dormers up top you're adding, and I don't know.
Are you on the zoning board
Yes.
for this? Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Side table, any other additional comments or questions? This time I'll open the public hearing portion of the application. Yes, ma'am. Could you step?
Kathleen Netter. I live on 82 Edgeridge Road. This is something that I can see out my front window, my front yard. I have several concerns. I am asking you to, as it stands, as presented tonight, to deny preliminary site plan approval. There are a number of issues. Primarily, we don't have, I understand the comment that you made in keeping with the landscaping plan, but we would like to see a landscaping plan detailed for this property. In addition, lighting, fences, trees, particularly along the south side. We have serious concerns with the addition of the 1,160 square foot on the south side. We would like to propose or request that they move it to the west side for a number of reasons. Moving it to the west side is not going to infringe on the south side neighbors. Currently, it will not need the zoning variance since the property is already owned by the parties in question. This proposed apartment complex has already been, it has decreased the property assessment through the town assessor with the assessment that we're going under. Further, taking that other 10-foot, I mean, we're not so concerned about the 149-foot, but the 10-foot that they want to ask for the variance is impeding on the south side neighbor whose property value has already declined in value. There's no reason to impede and further harm that neighbor. Moving the proposed addition to the west side of the building would solve a lot of problems. In addition to the landscaping plan, looking over the plans, they are not very detailed. We are seeing in the square foot, the 1,160 square foot addition, that there are plans for an elevator. Accessing this building currently, you either, when you access the building, there is an access on the east side. There is an access on the west side, which currently exists. There are plans to put an elevator in there into the addition, but when you walk in, you are not at, I want to say, street level. You either have to go up or down. By moving the proposed addition to the west side of the building, you would actually put the access in the middle rather than at one far end of the building. I have serious concerns about that. I don't see any proposed sprinklers. Again, there are stairs proposed, but basically you would be either going into the basement, downstairs, or upstairs. In the event of a fire, particular concern to me as being someone who needs a disability accessibility. If I'm not able to use the elevator in event of a fire because the elevators have shut down, I either have to climb stairs for a wheelchair to get out of the basement apartments, or I have to come downstairs, neither of which is very feasible. And in addition, if I live or am I visiting someone on the north side of the building, I have to walk all the way to the building, and that's quite some distance. I would propose, or I would like to request that the plans be amended, not only, again, to move that to the west side of the building, but to put ramps from all sides of the building, access ramps from below that would come out to street level. Because someone who either uses a cane or a wheelchair can get out if the elevators aren't working, if there is a ramp, rather than having to go upstairs, which in a time of panic and a fire is not feasible, and it really isn't the best situation. Ramps, just wide exit ramps going into all sides of the building would be preferable. It just does not look very feasible. Obviously, I wouldn't choose to live in some place like that where I couldn't have access, but even if I'm visiting someone, I couldn't even visit someone in there comfortably, knowing that I may put my life at risk because I can't get out of a building. There's no detailing as to what the square footage of these apartments are. Again, we need a lot more information, so like I say, as it stands now, I'm asking that you would deny the preliminary site plan approval until a number of questions are added and perhaps plans are repurposed to move the addition to the west side. Or I'm sorry, yes, the west side. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name's Bill Smallfuss. I'm at 35 Attridge Road. My property butts up against this thing here. I guess I've just got two concerns. One is that I don't see in the site plan the 6-foot vinyl fence or trees that was in the original plan when they had it tied into the other property there. There's definitely got to be some sort of a barrier between our property and theirs. That's concerning me. The other one is, I think she mentioned it, is the fire. In looking at the floor plan, anyone living on the north end of this building, if they can't get to the stairs, they're done. There's no other way out. On the other side, they've got the new part, they got the access there, but on the north end, there's nothing, I mean, unless you go out the window, you know? So, something to think about. All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Linda Smallfuss, 35 Attridge Road. Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity. When I use the pronouns we or our, I am joining my husband and myself in these comments. He has mentioned a couple of them, and I will just state them over. I think basically we have three concerns regarding the effect on our property. Number one, this MR rezoning has decreased the market value of our home. Because of the transient tenants that would inhabit this MR building, our assessed value is down. We actually, at this new assessment, was lowered because of the attention brought to this multi-residential property now next to ours. Second, there is the concern for increased noise with the prospect of 12 units with, I don't know, various number of people. Thirdly, the issue is lighting. You can't assume anything, so I guess we request that there would be proper angles of the lights that would be placed in the parking lot. I will call this light pollution due to the constant headlights from the increased movement of vehicles in and out of the parking area day and night. There seems to be no hardscape, as my husband mentioned, or green landscaping being provided by the developer along our property line. And the contractor here, or developer, mentioned that they were going to delay that and wait and use the same timeline as the 4423 property where they want to put some townhouses. Well, we know they've run into some difficulty because of the increased wetlands and the delineation. So my question would be, how long would we have to wait for a fence or trees? That's my question. They have no timeline, so how long do we wait until we get some kind of hardscape or landscape? By putting the fencing and the trees, I would suggest thuja, which I believe is an eastern white cedar because it's fast growing and it spreads nicely. That would kind of help settle two of the main issues of the noise and the lighting. So by doing that, that would certainly help us tremendously. We are asking that the 1% construction cost be used on this property, only that it would be a condition of the planning board to the conservation board as a request that it be used on this property, not given as it sometimes is allowed in the town. 1% can go someplace else. So we are asking that you would make that condition to the conservation board that that 1% be used on this property. There is, I believe, a traffic concern. We brought that up at previous meetings regarding the multi-residential units on both of these 4423 and 4415. So we request a traffic study by an independent agency. And since these plans, which he mentioned 6 or 7 months ago, there has been an accident at the T of Attridge and Buffalo Road. With the recent selling of 4400 Buffalo Road, there will be a potential for more traffic issues there depending on how that property is used and where the exit and entrances are placed. I don't know what the proposed plan for that, although we did hear it was a possible strip mall, which would increase traffic. As a healthcare professional for 40-plus years, I have some concerns regarding that floor plan. Could we turn that over, please? No, the other side, the floor plan.
The site plan?
Site plan.
Sure.
As has been mentioned, I see many safety issues. I'm surprised, but no, I guess I will say alarmed, by the decision made by the Chi-Li Fire Marshal that he did not suggest any other revisions of this current plan. In other words, just signing off, no changes needed. Is there a sprinkler system? You know, what are the fire safeties that are involved? There should be something, and as mentioned by Kathy, we noticed that, as stated by the County of Monroe DOH and the information that you received, that we are an aging population. This is not an age-friendly design. The current floor plan makes negotiating for an older or handicapped person extremely difficult. There are issues like the distance from the north side, the apartment closest to Buffalo Road, to get down to the elevator. It may be approximately 84, 85 feet. That's a long distance if you are aged or handicapped and you need to get there in a hurry. The placement of the elevator, way on the other end. Again, what happens to those people on the north end? The placement of handicap parking. Currently, I believe it's in the front of the building. It's a difficult building because nothing's at ground level. You either have to go up or you have to go down. But the placement of handicap parking, it should be on the side where the elevator is, not in the center of the building. So, I mean, there are several issues here. Could there be a fire escape route at the north end? I just see some very, very physical issues and safety issues with that. I also have a concern with the lack of supervision, in my opinion, by the Chi-Li Building Department when the developer started an interior demolition of the building, when the possibility of asbestos was present due to the age of the building. Why wasn't there a stop work order in place until proper documentation was provided? And lastly, as on this plan, as on previous plans that they have presented to the board, could you please get the correct owner's name for the property at 36 Attridge Road? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Charles Reddick, Coldwater Road. My question, first question in regard to the addition, which is a marshaling area for escape from the building. Is that a fire-safe, totally enclosed fire-safe addition?
You're requesting a comment on that. That would certainly be part of our discussion.
Do we know what his plans are? There's no indication on the drawings. There's no indication to the board. There's a storage area and a marshaling area and an elevator in that new addition. Is the storage area totally separated or is it not? If there's a fire in the storage area, is it sprinkled? There's no sprinklers. We know that. We see that. But the question is that area fire safe? Now, the reason why I ask the question is because it's supposed to be ADA compliant. As you leave the building from either the first or second floor apartments, you're in that marshaling area, let's say with a wheelchair, and you got to go up or down with the elevator. You can't go out. So that's why I asked the question. That's very important as to whether or not that's a fire-safe area.
Okay.
Very important.
Okay.
I don't see anything there specific, and that's why I definitely asked the question that should be more readily reviewed by the Chi-Li Fire Marshal and see if it does comply with real ADA compliance.
Okay.
Other concerns and comments, my understanding is this is a request here today just for a preliminary, not preliminary and final. Is that correct?
This is a preliminary request, correct?
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to verify that. But even for the preliminary, you, the board, do not have complete information to even make a good decision. You don't have any dimensions on the apartments. You don't have the information I just presented on the fire-safe access addition, the new addition. We don't know if the elevator is a workable mechanical structure that would even work if there was a fire and electricity went out or power went out. So therefore, with the elevator being required to take a wheelchair out of the building, going up or down, we have a very dangerous situation without further answers. Other concerns, we don't know if there's requested further lighting And if there is, lighting should be downward facing and not light pollution of adjacent areas, adjacent properties. Looking at this existing structure, which was basically a business facility, it was built wood construction, no sprinklers. For this specific situation, for housing, rental, sprinklers should readily be considered as a requirement for personal safety. The parking shown presently is at the front of the building, what is now or has been in the past the main entrance. If this is to be ADA compliant and your addition is at that south end of the building, that 1,160 square feet, should not the parking, the handicap parking, specifically be at that entrance? It's not shown that way now. Just follow up for conditions that this plan should definitely go to the Conservation Board for a specific landscape plan. We don't know presently what's planned. So if we're talking about trees or fence, which was shown at one time, I believe, there's nothing shown now, and that should be a condition. Architectural, this might be very minor, but it's something that would be nice in our town. To have a building that looks nice for residential. This should be reviewed by the Architectural Committee. And I'm speaking of something as simple as shutters. Make it look nicer, very simple. But it should be reviewed by the Architectural Committee. The other comment in regard to, excuse me, the comment in regard to the existing stairs at the center of the building on both sides. If there's someone in that far, I believe, the north end of the building, should there not be a fire escape ladder? Because otherwise, they would have to go to the stairs at the center of the building or to the far, I believe, south end of the building to the new addition for the elevator. And I believe elevators are not supposed to be used if there is a fire. So, again, we come back to the condition, how do the handicapped get out if there is a fire and the elevator is not available? Those are my concerns, and I think they should be conditions. Without this board having good information presented at this time, I think the only real answer for you at this time is to table until we have some of these comments reviewed and answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? This time I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of the hearing.
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. A couple of comments. Can you address the landscaping? There are a few things. The vast majority of the items that were mentioned are all items for the building department, the building inspector, and the fire marshal to review. It's not part of site plan review.
In ADA accessibility.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what is part of this review, though, is your landscaping,
Certainly.
your architectural review of the building, as well as, any fencing or hardscaping or landscaping, which you did have on other plans that aren't
Yeah.
on this one. And I understand they're on other plans, but because this is a phased project, you'll need to include that in this phase, which would
We
be
can
1%
certainly do
of
that,
this
sir.
phase, not the whole project.
Yeah, as mentioned, we can certainly work with town staff and provide a landscaping plan to their satisfaction. Basically, we'll use what we had before, and we'll put those portions of the plan that work on this, particularly the shielding and the fencing along the south line. Very easy to do. We'd be happy to do that. And again, this would be subject to the review by staff to their satisfaction.
Okay. And is there lighting?
The only lighting proposed is at the new south entrance. There's lighting
It'll
at
be
each of the
dark sky
entrances. So
lighting and won't
we'll
exceed over
actually
the
show
property
that.
line?
Yep, it definitely does, and we'll provide that too.
That'll be part of your final plan?
Yes.
So let me make sure there weren't any other items that I wrote down here. Anything we missed on the fencing, the lighting, the landscaping, the architectural review?
Yeah, I've got a few things.
Sure.
Mike, I don't remember if there is a distance requirement for the ADA spaces from the accessible entrance.
Probably is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't either. So maybe if we could just say to look at that, because that is a good point. If that is the if that's the accessible entrance, just making sure the distance. And once again, everyone here needs to understand too is that there's different things that are regulated different ways, and just because it doesn't seem right doesn't mean it isn't code compliant, right? So that's a very important code definable term, right? Code compliant. So when we talk about ADA and we talk about building code and we talk about life safety, just to be very clear, I don't want anyone out there thinking that these guys sitting up here don't care about life safety and people getting out of buildings, right? But that's not our job, as Mike mentioned. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. So when the architect draws the building, from a liability standpoint, that is their professional liability. That's why they're a design professional. They've been hired to design and draw this to be code compliant. All they did was 2 floor plans. That stuff goes into the building department. They have to review that. There's multiple layers of review that go into that. So that isn't this group. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. And one of the other things too is when it comes to egress, it's very specific. I see window wells in there. There's a lot of different things. It's not just the elevator is not an egress component. That is exactly correct. So that is something the architect has to review and do. That is not what we do. That is not what this man does. And that is part of the process. We're just not there yet. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. And that would also go for fire ratings of walls, for storage areas, and other concerns that I think were brought up at the last person. I think the one thing that is applicable, I did bring up, was the ADA space location, where those are. If there's a distance requirement, we obviously have time to check that before final, so.
Yeah, and where they're shown is actually where they are today, the spaces, and we could easily slide them down to the
Yeah,
south.
I mean, I think it makes more sense unless
Yeah,
there's a
it was
reason
just,
not to.
this is a snapshot of what it was as it, existed for years.
And I guess just to stay with this for one more minute is, I know we don't have the architect here tonight, and I don't know if you know, Chris, or if Mr. Gizzi knows, but just the question of, did you look at adding onto the other side of the building? I'm assuming that creates probably another variance. However, did you guys look at that, or did you talk with Al about that at all, or no?
Yeah, we did. I think from a site standpoint, it doesn't work out. We did talk with Al Arlotta, and from an architectural standpoint, I don't think it works with the building at all.
Okay, I'm guessing it's going to create at least one variance, maybe more, but I don't know that. So I don't know, I'm speculating, but it was asked, and I just didn't know if you had any knowledge of that Al looked at it or you guys discussed it.
Yeah, the major utilities are located right on that corner. So, an issue that this, a lot of the center corridor, for the apartments, heading up the end, because it came straight run. I imagine that you turned everything.
Then you actually may have egress concerns, distances. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other discussion? Paul, you look inquisitive.
Why was, there was a lift or some mechanical device in the foyer previously. Why not keep the elevator in that spot? Is there a reason why that wasn't there? Or retained in that spot?
I think the reason we originally planned to remove it was we were having an elevator on the south end of the building, but after we've hired T.Y. Lin to do the evaluation, they determined an elevator is not required. So that was why the handicap accessible lift was removed originally. I also think that area there is maybe going to be utilized for maybe some mechanical space.
Anything else, Paul?
Not right now.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions? I think all of the issues relative to the site plan can be addressed through AAC, our Conservation Board, as well as the 1% for the landscape and providing a landscape architect drawing to the Conservation Board for a recommendation, then submission to the Building Department. And then we could also review that when we come back to the final preliminaries approved. So with that, if there aren't any other discussion, we'll do seeker. I make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, and based on evidence and information presented at this meeting, determine the application being unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. As far as conditions go, approval is subject to final approval of the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works. The town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works must be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies. I'm sorry, were there easements on this? You didn't need an easement, did you, for any reason?
The first.
Oh, that's cross Essex, that there was. Copies of all easements associated with this project shall be provided to the Assistant Town Council for approval and filing information, i.e. library and page number, and shall be noted on the Mylars. Prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, all easements are to be filed and recorded with Romano County and filed, recorded, and acknowledged by the town clerk of the town of Chili. Applicant to comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review comments. Applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal. Pending approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals for all required variances. Applicant to comply with all conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeal as applicable. The applicant shall supply a landscape plan drawn by a licensed architect, along with the required checklist to the Conservation Board for review and recommendation. Applicant shall provide landscaping equivalent to 1% of the total project cost, just for this phase, not for the total project. But for this phase, in lieu of landscaping, or, sorry, strike that. Applicant shall submit a building design elevations to the Architectural Advisory Committee for the review and recommendation, which is next month prior to this meeting. Any building permit should not be issued prior to the applicant complying with all conditions. Application is subject to all required permits, inspections, and code compliance regulations. Are there any other conditions necessary? No? Okay. With those conditions, the application of Gizzy Real Estate Holding LLC, 3850 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, 14624, applicant owner, for preliminary site plan approval to convert the existing building into convert existing building into 12-unit apartment building, and B, an 1,160 square foot addition to the existing building known as Berkeley Place Phase 1 at the property located 4415 Buffalo Road.
Second?
And you did say preliminary, correct?
Preliminary, correct.
Yes.
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 Yes. I also vote yes, your preliminary plan is approved. If you could submit those documents to the committees and then be in when you're ready for final. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting minutes for the last meeting. Need a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. Any other activity for the board? Then I adjourn the meeting.